Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Black Man's Thoughts. We're gonna get right into it, man. We're gonna, talk about the Ravens pre-draft press that we just seen. Harb's thought on, you know, the draft as in terms of, somebody hacking. We're gonna talk about, wilderness camping, wilderness hiking, and with the 28th pick, we on the clock. What's it going to be? So without further ado, we get started, man. We'd like to, give a shout out to everybody who's, losing family and families affected by the the virus that's going on. We know small businesses are being shut down. Uh, so we just got to be mindful of everybody that's affected. Not everybody's built for homeschool, and they're having to maybe transition to whole school, and it's affecting the way they work, it's affecting the way that their houses are run. It's just affecting a lot, and so we understand that. Be mindful when we interact with people outside of our homes. Hopefully, it's not often, but just realize everybody's dealing with probably some level of stress, and everybody doesn't handle stress at you know the same. Some people was having a hard life before this, and it just made it harder. So, just be mindful of who you're coming across, uh, and so forth. The Ravens just had their pre-draft presser. I thought it was interesting. It was a interesting way that they did it. Doing it from home, having Eric talk about watching tons of tape from home. Watching Joe talk about having the luxury of more people being out the building and being able to talk to them more since they they're not everywhere else, and they can't go to many other places. So that could be a luxury. So the question now is this something that you may see more of? Is there now less of a need to continue to travel as much if you can just get more tape? And with more tape, it could come two things. It can be you can really break down somebody's game and get a better feel for them instead of you spent all that time flying and hotels, and now it's more energy of being more critical of what your eyes are telling you. Or could you overstudy? I remember maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, um one time they had a presser, and when they was talking about the receivers, they were saying sometimes they were being too critical on receivers. Instead of saying if he can play, he can play, but they were being too critical on certain nuances of the receiver, which would then hinder them from valuing a receiver earlier. So, sometimes when you overstudy, you become overcritical on the person's game instead of saying, hey, he's been successful everywhere he's went. He's still been able to play, despite the size, despite the type of school. We're gonna give him a shot. So hopefully, it's more of the more of the first one where it's like they can get a better feel, and they can just say, hey, he's made it. He's made it happen with this game. He's succeeded at that level, and we think it can carry over. We think it can transition. Uh, so that's one thing that kind of stood out to me, and I'm hoping that we see more off of this. I don't know to compare it to, but just more being able to tape watch, being able to communicate on tape watching instead of I can only imagine it's less talk now about who's traveling to where and who's going where and to stay at the hotel, but it's now that's out of the window. The small talk is out of the window, and it's straight into what they like or what they don't like in the player. So I think that this is interesting, and I just think that I wonder if this more of this is going to continue even after this, and maybe next year when maybe hopefully there is no virus to hold them back, and just to see how people if they do anything different. um even a draft instead of hosting a huge venue, you know what I mean, I wonder if they would do like some type of let's just say, for layman's terms, like a Skype or a Zoom, where like the top 100 all have access and cameras in our homes, and if they get called, they get called. If they don't, then we consider them in the green room. You know what I mean? And hopefully that can motivate them to play harder and play with that chip on the shoulder. But instead of spending huge monies on travels and monies on draft venues, maybe they can take that money and put it within the game, and maybe pay the players more. Uh, you know what I mean? Maybe just do something different with the money. Uh, I just think that there's a lot of interesting options that they can do if they decide, hey, this can be successful without us doing so much travel and so much, large venues. Um, I don't know, but back to the presser. One thing that I thought was interesting as well is the whole Antonio Brown conversation. Now, I don't know. I just thought he was too reserved on that, saying that there's no need to speak on it. I get it, but it's a question. It's a question. Why not speak on it? Why not say, you know what I mean? If there is a little bit of interest, or so forth and so forth, but to say, I won't speak on that, because the question I think was, what do you think about them working out? And he says, I won't speak on that. There's nothing wrong with speaking on your thoughts of them working out. I mean, it'd be good for him to work with a Pro Bowl veteran receiver who understands coverages, who understands what cornerbacks can do, can be in his ear, say, hey, be in his ear and say, hey, hit me when I'm about to turn around, or hit me right when I'm on this step. You know what I mean? I just think that is nothing but you can gain experience for just working out with somebody. I don't feel like it was that secretive to say whether you thought that workout, was okay or not. Now, saying that whether you wanted to sign him, I can get it. There's no need to speak on that, but just to say what he thought about them three getting together and working out, it don't need to be that secretive. And I would have liked for John Harbaugh to answer that as well. It was only Eric who answered it, and I would like John to say thoughts. Hey, I've talked to Lamar about the AB situation, and he has a good relationship with him. I would like to hear what's John's take on Lamar's idea of playing with a guy like AB, who's normally going to demand above 80 catches a game. He's going to demand that. And knowing that this type of offense will never in his wildest dream give him that, I think that's and plus and one thing that stood out too. I was looking it up, and he has a lot of charges, man. He has a lot of charges still on him, and I can see why teams is like, hey, man, we don't know. I know he's countersuing, but he has a lot of added. It's not just his craziness, but a lot of the charges that went along with that is still out there. It's not put to bed yet. So I get it. I definitely get it, and that's probably why Tampa Bay was like already came on and said, it's not going to happen here. So I get it, man. Um, as far as them talking about Yonda, I like what they said. There is no replacing Yonda. There is no. Let me go back. Let's stick with the wide receiver room. I thought that was interesting when they asked him about the wide receiver room, and Eric goes, "I like our room. I like our room." But we've heard that before. They liked the room when they had Perryman. They liked the room when they didn't go out there and draft nobody. Oh, we like the room. We like the room. They've always liked the room, and most of the time the room has sucked. Talking about the wide receiver room. So I thought that was very interesting how he says, "Well, we believe that Hollywood, Boykins, and Sneed." Well, that's only three receivers, man, and one of them didn't really show too much. The other one only had 500 yards, and Snead didn't have more than 400 yards. So for you to have all this confidence on this room, this wide receiver room, I'm just like, I like the fact that they didn't go and sign a vet, but I do think, you know what I mean. That was a little bit of smoke and mirrors right there. You know what I mean? Of watch his hand, and then this hand does something different, because there's no way if he likes the room. I can almost guarantee they're gonna probably walk out with either two receivers by the time the season starts. It's either gonna be a vet or it's gonna be two draft rookies being drafted. There's no way that they can be comfortable with a Hollywood who was injured most of the season, a Sneed who digressed last season, and a Boykins who was not consistent at all. There's no way you can tell me you like that wide receiver room. So I just think that is something that it's smoke and mirrors, man. Smoke and mirrors. So that made me. along with other comments, think that, uh, and I'll tell you later on. But as far as Yonder, there is no replacing Yonder, man. There is no replacing Yonder. You got to think that Marciano retires, you lose James Hurst, and Matt Skura recovering from a crazy, crazy knee injury, and the only people they're saying is we have Powers, who was inactive all 17 games. You get what I'm saying? So you can't tell me that the offense is definitely needing some help. We went hard on the defense. We went super hard on the defense in off season, but that offense, man, you know, it needs help. It needs help because even if Skura comes back, he's a number two at best. He's a number with that type of injury. With that type of injury, you cannot expect him to go out there and be the starting center. If he do, more power to him. But I highly doubt that week one he's going to be the starting center. I highly doubt that, and I highly doubt that it's going to be Powers and who at the right guard. It's got to be some competition for Powers. It's got to be somebody there to push Powers. And right now, that person isn't on the roster. I don't believe. I don't believe that that person's on the roster. So there's going to be two or three more linemen added. Hopefully, a vet. You know what I mean? Hopefully, a smart vet who's either whether the Ravens get a tackle, kick him in the guard, or draft a tackle or a guard or a center and kick him out the guard. It doesn't matter, but they're definitely going to need some help on that interior line because without that, this is going to be this could be a really, 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 really already bad situation turn terrible. So I don't know. What more from the presser? They like the cornerback position. They like that depth. They like what they got going back there. They also talked about still, middle linebackers at very deep position. They talk about different deep positions. And one thing that kept coming off is a lot of receiver talk to me. And I do think it's going to come down between the middle linebacker position and the receiver position. I do. I think that's what's going to come down to, or what they're going to target. If they don't hit um, Queen Murray at 28, I don't see them grabbing the middle linebacker. If they don't have Gross, Matos, AJ Espinoza, if they don't have one of the premier uh, pass rushers, I can see them trading back out. I can. I can definitely see them trading back out. So I would look at that. Matter of fact, what's this called? Uh, Daniel Brooks, I think, or Jeremiah. I think Daniel Jeremiah today came up with the mock draft uh 3.0. I think it was a uh I think it was a what's it called, Daniel Jeremiah, I mean Jeremiah. So, and I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if I could see them uh I don't know if I can see them picking that he has them picking Braun. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not really high on Zach Braun from Wisconsin. I know he can be. I know he's more of a Swiss Army knife, but you know what? So was Bowers. Bowers was deemed a Swiss Army knife who can cover, who can pass rush. If that's the case, we have that in Bowers. I don't want somebody who's average at everything or good at it. I want somebody who's great at one thing and good at everything else. Give me somebody who push come to shove, we know one thing about him. He's very good at that one position. I don't want a balanced guy. I really don't. I'm tired of the balanced guy. I don't want nobody who can. He's decent on pass rush. He's decent. I want somebody to say, hey, he can pass rush the hell out of the quarterback, and he's getting better at coverage. I'll take that duo over. He's okay. because you don't never know what you're really going to get, and you don't really know day in and day out if you can use them on that specific talent. So sometimes we may need you to pass rush, and you're not great at pass rushing. Then what? Now we're stuck in the same situation. So give me somebody who's a pass rusher first, and then because if anything, we can just put you at defensive end or put you somewhere to pass rush and use a safety or a corner or Levine, Zach Levine, for coverage. I mean, I don't know. I'm just not big on Zach Brown, and if he turns out to be good, more power to him. I just don't think. I don't really like that 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 aspect of it. They have Brandon Ike or Uick or whatever going to the Tennessee Titans, and that's another one that's been highly talented to go to the Ravens. I think he had surgery today or yesterday. He's a receiver out of Arizona State. Ravens have had decent success out of Arizona State talent. So Terrell Suggs. So I wouldn't be mad at it. I definitely would be excited about it. Um, I don't know. Daniel Jeremiah's pick. He has AJ Ensbenenza going 23 to the Patriots. Kenneth Murray to the Eagles at 21. Yatur Gross Matos at 18 to the Dolphins. Henry Ruggs 13 to San Francisco. Queen Patrick Queen to the Saints. So I don't know. I just think that would be a very interesting aspect. Zach Braun, I don't know if I see him as a first rounder. It says the Ravens need more edge rush. Braun has the athleticism to drop in coverage as well. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's not known as a pass rusher. He can do it, and maybe he was successful when he did it. But when you watch it, I don't think he really was really known for pass pass coverage. So that's what scared. That's what kind of scares me. Um, that's what kind of scares me on his tape. He ran a 4.6. So he can definitely run. He's 6'2", 238. You know, uh, twitchy, explosive, lateral rush zombie with good secondary rush motor. Lacks speed, lacks size. Uh, Needs to harness energy that says rush momentum can carry him beyond the arc. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but it just comes down to can you can you trust that player? Can you trust that player when all comes to say his 2000? Well, he did have 12 sacks his final season, 52 solo tackles, 12.5. So maybe I need to pay more attention to him. But here's the thing though, 2016 and 2016 he had no sacks. 2018 he had 2.5. Then 2019 he had 12.5. So he's not, from what I see, like I said, he's not been consistently known as a pass rush specialist. And isn't that what we're no, isn't that what we're looking for? I don't know. I don't know, man. So last one of the last things we'll cover is pick 28. Pick 28. Who you looking for? Oh, they also talk about running back. I still cannot see them picking with pick 28 a running back. I can't. I don't see. I think that would be, unless you're getting somebody like you know, like an Adrian Peterson. Unless you get somebody like you know, who the Cowboys running back or the Giants running back, Ezekiel Elliott. Unless you're getting somebody who's a once in a lifetime talent, I just don't see it. The only thing you'll be getting out of it is another running back who can catch out of the backfield. But you have that already. I just don't see them doing it at pick 28. Now, do I think that they'll pick one in the draft? Probably. I wouldn't be mad if they did, but not at pick 28. And with the pick 28, who do I think they're going to get? Well, I'll say what position. From what I hear from the presser, I think it's going to be a receiver. I think it's going to be a receiver. I just think that they kept talking about how this receiver class is really, really good. It has about 20 something really good receivers that they like. Eric has talked about being able to pull the trigger on a receiver early. He's I just and he's talking about the inside linebacker depth being pretty good too. I think that they would rather swing at a receiver and go get a middle linebacker in the second round than not get one of those good receivers and get a middle linebacker that they could have maybe picked up similarly in the second round. So I think that with the pick 28, look for offense. I do think it's going to be an offensive player. From what I can read from the presser, I think it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I think that um, with number 28, Ravens are on the clock. Look for a receiver, look for an offensive player, whether that's an offensive lineman. I doubt that, but I do think 90% of it's going to be uh, receiver. Now, if Queen and Murray are on the board, now you're talking different. But you let those two be off the board. It's I think it'll be a slam dunk. It's an offensive player. So and it's going to be. I think it's going to be one of those big receivers. I wouldn't be mad if it was Arizona State's receiver. I really wouldn't be mad. So that's my thoughts. Harb's talking about the draft aspect of it being digital, and he talked about people being able to hack it. Something you do have to worry about. We're in a digital age. Um, that's something that's becoming more prevalent, you know. So, but that's not in his control. That's not something that he needs to worry about too much. I mean, obviously there's, you know, it could happen, but if it happens, ain't nothing you can do. Only thing you can do is just stick to your board and select who falls, no matter what happens. You know, so I just think that the presser was very interesting. I think it was very informative. I think it was a very read between the lines. So hey, hopefully we get another one soon, and we hear some more information, um, coming out of it. But yeah, uh, let's talk about something that I've been really thinking about these days. And we started it last week. We talked about being ready. Um, I've been looking up a lot of wilderness camping. What do you need outside? Backpacks, water purification systems, being able to cook outside. What are you cooking on? Fire starters, ammunition, you know. And then I start today thinking about, hiking. When was the last time you as a man went into a gun store? When was the last time you went into a tactical store? Do you even know what you're looking at when you're looking at those things? You know, do you have any books that tell you which plants that you can eat or what side of the tree the moss is growing on? How do you know when there's water? What to listen for? How do you know when the water is drinkable? I just been thinking about those things, and we talk about saving cans and having cans and canned goods and dried beans, but if you don't have any water around you, how you gonna eat those beans? If you can't access water, how do you eat the beans? How you boil the rice? What if you're modern? What if you're living life in a fast lane and you got this great house, you got this great can opener that's electric, and all the power grid goes out and there's no power. How do you open these cans? You got a million cans saved up. How you get to the cans? Do you have any sharp knives that can cut through metal, that can cut through aluminum? Do you have anything to give you access to what you need manually? Something that where you can control it. Are you even in shape to even hike through the woods at an elevated climb? That's something that I've been really thinking about on really getting into like hiking. Working on my backpack when I go hiking. What things do I need when I go hiking? And just getting used to the sounds of outdoors. Getting used to the sounds of the night. You know, What is camping? What is hiking? What is the difference between uh you know what is kayaking? Even thinking about getting into kayaking so I can understand different currents, different being in have experience with different type of currents. You know what I mean? And not being afraid to say, hey, if this is an extreme current, I've handled that before. I just think that is very important, and it's just things that that's been popping in my mind on, getting into the tactical side, because we've seen that no matter the technology, this system, it can be brought to its knees. Look what look what this virus is doing. Look what it's doing. I mean, most of the mom and pop stores are shut down. Some stores are only letting 50 people in at a time. Your job isn't even letting you in. You know what I mean? It's not like they don't care, but at the same time, it's like, hey, they'd rather the business to continue. I'd rather you to go get fired than the business to go down. So you have to think of your best interests at heart, and you have to be a little selfish and say, hey, if push comes to shove, can I make it? Can me and my family survive? I mean, that's all about being an alpha man. That's all about being somebody that is not afraid to go out there in the night, stay up all night, go hunting, and bring back some food. Understanding how to fish, which rivers to fish in, what are the fish. How do you know where you can guarantee yourself some fish, depending on what type of environment the fish are? Do they feed by the bank? Is it better to fish at night or early morning? You know what I mean? Do you need, what I mean? How deep do you need to go? Do you need to wade out there? So I think that, small stuff like that is something that we need to consider. And if you have any tactics, you've had any webs links, if you have any information, DM me. I got my Instagram up there, man. Shoot me a DM. You know what I mean? Let me know what you want to talk about. Let me know some tactical things that you want me to review, that you want me to bring out to help out the channel. Um, Even just, you and your partners just go camping throughout the throughout the summer, maybe once or twice. Check it out, see how you do, see where your weaknesses is. You know what I mean? What if you don't have nothing to blow up your tent? How do you sleep up off the ground? So, with that said, man, just continue, just think about building up your hiking and your camping gear, your ammunition, your guns, your knives before you camp. You know what I mean? So, hey, shalom, man. I'm getting ready for Passover tomorrow. So, planning on having fun with the family. You know what I mean? Baking some unleavened bread, man. So y'all be safe out there, man. Y'all stay virus free.